This comes from Canetta. I know you were at the game yesterday. He said, "We just sold out last game. What do you think the playoffs will be like?"
Well, I wasn't yesterday. I was just watching from home, but I was there. The Denver game. I think that was my last game I did. Where I got to do photography. I got also randomly stuck in an elevator with Dr. J, which was insane. But I think this is probably like you're I have no bias in saying this. I really feel like you're sitting on potentially the best environment in the NBA this playoffs. I feel like not only is this a city that is already extremely passionate, extremely loud about their sports teams, but I mean, historically, the Pistons have had some of the best crowds when it comes to playoffs, championship runs. Like they are notorious for it. And once that starts getting going, and unlike that 2019 season where they kind of limped to the playoffs, which hurts my heart to say because I at this point in my experience covering the Pistons, I'd say like it's more just objective than anything. But it's at a point where like that 2019 season though that meant something to me, right? And I was delusional enough to think that they were going to use it to turn it into like coming back to the playoffs the next year, but I feel like everybody else was maybe a little more grounded in reality because I attended those games and I think everybody was there to support the team, but I think everybody also knew that there is no chance in hell like they are winning even a single game, nor if they're even coming back, next year. Um, because the next year they didn't really obviously sell that much, and then there was a pandemic, and then that pretty much reset everything. But I think this is a unique scenario where everybody since I can remember has talked about the glory days of the going to work Pistons and the run they had from all the way up until 2008 where they just were selling out crowds like nothing, and it was the greatest atmosphere. And growing up in Michigan and going to Pistons games since I can really remember, I didn't get to experience that, right? Like I didn't get to experience the prime of the Pistons crowds at the Palace. Like I experienced Ben Gordon, Charlie Villanueva, Austin Day. That was my childhood, like I then I had the hopes of Brandon Jennings to cling on to before it turned into that 2015-16 season where it was Stanley Johnson was my guy. And that playoff series really that still means something to me. Where he guarded LeBron, and then that turned into nothing. And then there was that 2019 run, and then I was like, okay, well, Blake had this amazing year, and then that turned into nothing. This is the first time where I really feel like they are not only here and they're going to have this insane atmosphere, but it really feels like the city is bought into the team. Not only in the current here and now, but in the future as well. Like it feels like this is a city that really sees this young core, sees a young superstar in Cade Cunningham, and they want to let them know, like, we got your back, right? Like I think Detroit always has this underdog mentality where they're like, Detroit versus everybody. Uh, And I think that's something that they carry with them everywhere. And it really helps when you're truly bought in because the crowds just for like a Washington Wizards game, right? Unreal. And like that used to be probably because my parents have had tickets since I was like 15, 16 at LCA. Not all that was always the worst crowd. Wizards
Yeah.
versus Pistons by far. That was always the worst crowd, not even close. Um, to now that being like damn near a sellout and a rowdy crowd, and they're losing their mind at every single thing happening, and they're all doing, even when it comes to just like a role player doing the Fontecchio hand gesture, like everyone in the crowd doing it really just signifies how in line the city is with the team. 1 through 15, the Motor City Cruise, like they're having a decent season, right? But like I think they had a great season in 2021 where they made the playoffs, and it didn't really feel like everyone was really bought into even the Cruise. But as a result of the Pistons being as good as they have been and kind of having the identity that they have where they are this underdog, like Detroit versus everybody type of team, that the city now goes to, I've been to a few Motor City Cruise games in the last week where they're bought in. Like these are some of like the largest crowds I've seen at Motor City Cruise games in my 4 seasons of covering the team. You know, like it's starting to become a thing where I can see this being a lasting impact. And this is really great, honestly. And this is something I really wanted talk to players or JB about is this is going to be what kids now talk to their kids about. You know what I mean? Like I my whole life just heard, oh, the going to work Pistons, the bad boys. And, you know, even when JB got here, he had said, oh, like, you know, we're going to bring it back to that type of identity, like the bad boys and the going to work thing that I don't even think they've realized, because I've heard it from everybody in that, like the team, the players, everybody, oh, we're going back to that. Right. I don't think so. I think this is its own thing. And I at a certain point, like, you are now setting the precedent for what people who come here, players who come here, fans who watch the team, this is going to be the identity that the Detroit Pistons have for years to come. And I think that's really something to be celebrated. And I think the crowd in the playoffs is absolutely going to be, no doubt, a sellout. And I also think it's going to be really setting a precedent for years to come.
I have so many thoughts with this because I went to the Killian Hayes Revenge Tour a couple weeks ago with Easy, which was a whole lot of fun. Shout out to Easy. Yeah. So we're sitting in like, shout out to Heavyweights, or X Support Group or whatever they were called for a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're going there, and I'm not even exaggerating. We had to wait a good like 35 minutes to get into the door. It's the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep.
It's not a good basketball team.
Yep.
I think a lot of people after the Lions didn't do as well as they thought they were going to do. And the Red Wings obviously fired their new coach. They go on a little winning streak, then they went on a 7-game losing streak, getting back in the win column, kind of playing like 500 hockey as of late. I think a lot of casual Detroit sports fans see what the Pistons are doing, seeing them actually, be in playoff seeding. Like the Red Wings right now were, chasing a wild card. Like the season end of the day, they wouldn't make the playoffs again. And they've been rebuilding for like, I don't know, 10 years. I think what you're seeing is a lot of fans are buying into what JB told us this past summer of when you turn on the TV, you'll see Detroit Pistons basketball, and they remind me a lot of the early going to work Pistons, like early 2002. And then they popped off and they won 50 games the next season. Like there's so many similarities with this team, and the similarities are the togetherness, the way that they fight for each other. JB, I think, is probably the most passionate coach that we've had since, you could put SVG in that category, Larry Brown, Flip Saunders. Like the way he is on these refs' ass. I just saw a stat. I looked it up, actually. He leads the league in technical fouls among coaches. He's got 13 techs this year, which kind of tells you how much he's on the refs' ass. I think the reason why this feels different from the KCP, Andre Drummond-led teams to the Blake Griffin-led teams is I think there's a belief among the fan base of this isn't going just to be a one-year thing.
Yep.
Like, I think this has sustainability where this team is going to be in the conversation in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And you kind of look at the core that they have, like, no one's really, like their young core, no one's over like 26 years old. Yeah, your franchise guy is like, what, 23 years old? Jaden Ivey, I think, is 21, 22. JD still 21. Like, there's a lot to like with this core. And I think just this year, like I think they've shattered a lot of fans' expectations because, going from a 14-win season to, I think, what are they at, like 37 wins right now? That's a huge improvement. And I think, to answer your question, Kaneda, the fact that a lot of these games, the remaining home season games per George Blaha on the broadcast, he said they're sold out. And you go on like a third-party ticket app, like a Game Time or a Ticketmaster, those are sold out prices. Like it was $125 for a bleeder seat for OKC.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Like tickets are expensive. I think the fans are into it, the city's into it, and I've always said like this city has been starving for a good basketball team for a long time. The last time that they won a playoff series I was a freshman in high school, and that was quite a long time ago. Like I just turned 33 a couple weeks ago. So this team feels different. It feels like they can actually build on something, add some more veteran pieces, add secondary scoring, maybe add more of a toolsy like wing defender to help out on the perimeter. Like I don't really think you could cap this team's potential in terms of where they can go. And I'm under the mindset of let this core grow and see how far JB can take them.
Agreed. I'm really excited to see just how far they can go, especially this playoffs and just moving forward as well. Like it's rare that you can have a rebuild that has been as tumultuous as this one really truly pay off, right? Like because obviously no rebuild is perfect, and honestly most rebuilds are ugly. But the fact that they were able to get this to where it has been, and where it probably will be going, is insane. And I think the one thing that differentiates it between the Lions, because the Lions obviously are championship contenders pretty much perennially now, but in terms of just buy-in and things that in terms of like an entertainment standpoint, just on like a emotional standpoint that fans can really cling to, is basketball is a personality sport, right? Like the guys don't wear helmets, the players' names, and the star players are truly star players, right? Cade Cunningham is a star. The fact that this arena yesterday got as amped up as they did for a Cade Cunningham technical foul ejection, where they were just, and because my brother went to the game and I just was hearing like how insane the arena got when he got ejected, that like, it got to the point where JB was like, going to the crowd and amping him up. Like this team is one that the city's obviously bought into, but their franchise player is someone that not only are they bought into, like they're willing to like, die for pretty much. Like this is a city that like does not let anybody talk about Cade Cunningham. Will always ride for Cade Cunningham, and like you've seen it, you've seen the semblances of it since he got drafted, like when he put the buffs on, like that was a huge moment, and it felt like it was just like a matter of time before we really reached this point where Cade was Detroit's guy, and it really feels like he has become Detroit's guy. Like the Jared Goff chants have died, and the MVP chants have been born. I really feel like in terms of superstardom, obviously he's going to be, I think, a national superstar, but I think it's so much more important to the community and the city, and just the fan base as a whole, like worldwide, because, the Pistons fan base is insane, like the shout out to Tom in Korea, right? Like they got people everywhere, but this is a fan base that's truly bought into their guy. And, yeah, the shout out to the comment where, in Tigers games, before they ever drafted Cade, they were chanting, "We want Cade." Like this has been a love story that has gone on for half a decade, that they wanted him before they could ever draft him, and it got to the point where like I remember fans were like, "Oh man, I don't even know if we're gonna get the chance to draft Cade. Like, what are we gonna do if we can't draft Cade?" And then they drafted him, and then it's been everything since then. And now to really have this euphoric season where Cade becomes an all-star, you're making the playoffs. It really feels like the culmination of something great, and it feels like Detroit's really found their guy, which is really sweet.
It is. It honestly, like I know we had so many conversations this summer because we were reacting to like I remember doing the ESPN list with you, and it was 67. And you went on like a 15-minute rant of like how disrespected he is. And I told you, I said, if he wins a little bit, I think he's going to be in those same kind of conversations that Paolo was in last year. Anthony Edwards. Like I just saw Bill Simmons the other day. He had Anthony Edwards off his second team All NBA and had Cade in there. Like think about that for a minute. Like Anthony Edwards, I think we can all agree is like probably one of the most entertaining players on and off the court. And you have big national guys like a Bill Simmons and a Ryan Russillo saying like, yeah, Cade's probably second team All NBA. Like no one was thinking that coming into the season. They were like, maybe he could be an all-star. Maybe they can get the 30 wins. Not like I've seen the expectations from fans change with the Wizards game. I've never seen fans that upset in my life, and deservedly so. Like that tells you how locked in this city is right now, and they're looking at the playoff seeding. They're looking, where they could possibly get a first round matchup. Like I haven't seen the city this locked in probably since I was a kid.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like in my lifetime, this is the first, right? Like I always talked about when I was first like in high school and everything like that, like middle school, nobody was a Pistons fan. Like nobody my age, I'm 22, nobody my age was a Pistons fan. Like you would get made fun of if you were a Pistons fan. And like that 2019 season where they made the playoffs, like I remember and I was a junior in high school that year. I was getting cooked. I was like, yeah, they can win a game. Like they can win a series. No, they're not. Like they suck. Everybody was Thunder fans. Everybody was Warriors fans, Cavs fans, Lakers fans. To now have this be a team that the city, not only the city, but generally the state, the fan base as a whole worldwide, this is a team that gets rallied around is really incredible, and it's really exciting to see. And I hope they can carry the momentum into the playoffs and really have something special happen.
I do too, because I think this is just the beginning of something that's going to just explode. And I think they'll probably have like guys like Vinny Goodwill saying like, oh, what happened to the 2024, 25 Pistons to the possibly 2027, 2028 NBA champs? Like how did it like just go that fast? And they're in those conversations, which I'm making a prediction. I think they will be in the finals by then, 2027, 2028.
I mean, I would love to cover an NBA final, so I sure hope so. That would be sweet, and I think the city would explode. Literally, I think that there would, if this team, went from with the same core, from 28 game losing streak, embarrassment of a season to championship within the same decade. That's a 30 for 30, like off rip, that's a story that needs to be told. Hopefully I can tell it. Cause it's been in like my first season covering this team, was last year, where I was in the throes of the Wingstons, the losing, the chaos, the never ending roster changes, the fans, basically rioting, like from that to this in 1 year is ridiculous. And, it's incredible.
It's funny. Like, I think it was your first season last year. My buddy Sean Murphy, it was his first season last year, covering the Pistons, and Eric Vincent as well, which all three of you first year, like let's cover a 28 game losing streak. Let's go, boys. Like,
it was hard to get people to care, man.
I know.
It was a tough fight.
I mean, it still doesn't even feel real. Like, I literally had someone tell me that they live in like the San Antonio area, and they went to go see how Monty did coaching a private, I believe, Christian league where his son plays with like Tim Duncan's son and Bruce Bowen's son.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, dude, like they're terrible. Like they're like an average team and they have good players. Like I don't understand why he's still coaching. Like I was like, I don't know, man. Like just kind of like let him live. Like I thought some fans were like, yeah, let's go to Texas and go boo him. I was like, good Lord.
That's a level of hate I I respect, but Fifth Amendment on that one.
Yeah, same here. Like, I would not do that. I mean, like, I covered his son when he was at Brother Rice. I thought he was really good. He'll probably be a lottery pick in a few years because he's just really talented. But some fans are just wild. I'm sure you've seen it. Like, I've never seen such a sensitive fan base like the OKC Thunder because I thought it was about them yesterday, and it completely wasn't about them. They tried to make it about them. I was like, my beef isn't with you; it's with Brian Forte. Like, chill out.
Yeah, I saw some of that. It's interesting. Like, it's also just like it feeds into the national discourse from the year where a lot of fans kind of call Shea like a foul baiter and stuff like that. So like, it doesn't help when Twitter is misinformation central and like the biggest
Yeah.
tweets every night come from like Hater Report and NBA Centel, where like, obviously they're just doing it to do it, but then it starts getting to a point now where it's like, okay, like we have to make sure that we're actually letting people know the real information as well, because people genuinely thought JB Bickerstaff was upset with Shea and not with the officiating, which was I can't even blame people for it, but like we got to do a little bit more research. Like I know that like information's never been harder to really get on a wide scale, but like come on guys, like if you just watch the clip, even you know what I mean, like it's pretty obvious that it's about the officiating, but
Yeah. I mean, I saw Hater Report, left the comment, said it has nothing to do with SGA. It has to do with Brian Forte and the officiating crew. Like the whole 3 or 5 technicals in a quarter is just I don't even know, man. Like, I could tell the game was gonna get dicey when he told the Thunder stop yelling at me. I was like,
oh
yeah,
yeah,
he lost control. There
yeah,
something's gonna happen and it's not gonna end well. But I appreciate you coming on as always, man. I
of course.
always enjoy talking to you. People love you, like I always tell you. But I want to give you the floor to plug and promote yourself, bully ball, or whatever you're working on currently.
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate you having me on as always. Really enjoy coming on here. Yeah, as always, it's at Zariq Xavier on everything. My photography, it's easiest to find when you go to my Instagram, which is same handle, Zariq Xavier, and I also do collab posts with Bully Ball as well. So if you could just go, it's at Real Bully Ball as well. It's also there. That's primarily been my form of storytelling this year, has been with the visuals. I really want to do some profiles. I know I'll have one coming soon on the G League level, which I know some people already have their reservations about, but it's a great story. The Pistons / Crews have a player who started this year as a tryout, and he is a huge player for them. He played I think 32 minutes tonight. He was in the G League the next up game. Really incredible story. So I'm working on that currently, and hopefully I can get some Pistons stuff in there as well on the writing front. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and as always, man, it's good to be on here.
Yeah, I saw that picture of Malik that blew the hell up. Like, uh, and I saw it, and I was just like, I thought it was actually you that posted it. I had no idea. I was actually commenting on Malik's IG. And I was like, yeah, so Malik should frame this. And then he liked it. I was like, oh shit, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad, Malik.
Yeah. It was honestly like I'll be completely transparent. Like I've been doing the photography now for like 4 seasons if you include the cruise. And I think the first couple seasons I was really just kind of figuring it out, like how I want to go about things. But I think in like this season, I've really kind of hit my groove when it comes to how I approach taking the pictures and stuff like that. So getting love from the players, not just Malik, like Stu, Malik, Bobby, even like I get Duran as well, liked and shared just in the last week alone. Like it's really cool, and it feels good just to know that my work is appreciated, because it's a lot. It's a lot of work editing all these pictures and going from Lansing to Detroit, and still being in school. Because I do Big Ten stuff for my class, so it's been insane, but it feels good to get a little bit of recognition here and there, and I truly do feel like that picture. I was like, this might be my Mona Lisa. And it wasn't even one, ironically, that like when I got it, I was just so nervous, because a lot of times I'm like, fuck, I hope it's in focus, right? Like, I really hope it's in focus because ironically, Malik's shimmy has been the thing I have struggled with getting focus on the most by far this season. Like, every time he's done it, it's out of focus and I get pissed. I'm like, God damn it. Like, that would be such a good picture. Uh, and the fact that, like, you know, that happened where I finally got it and I got him celebrating with the crowd, and I got it to turn out as well as it did when it did. Felt like perfect timing. And one of his friends, I'll shout him out here, Brian Chow, is also a photographer. He was the one that reached out to me when I had posted it on Twitter and was like, hey, how can I get this to Malik? And that turned into its own thing. He does great work as well. He does a lot of freelance stuff and he does a lot of posts with league fits. So shout out to Brian. But yeah, it's been cool, man. I just hope I get to keep going and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, like I saw that picture. I was like, man, I would blow that up and just like frame it if I was him. Because it's like that. I think that was the Boston game, if I do remember correctly, and that was like a really big 3 that he hit.
I think it was not the what was the game before? It was the Clippers. I think it was the Clippers game actually.
Oh, okay.
It was the Clippers game. And ironically, that was a game where I felt like it was a really slow, kind of ugly basketball game, and sometimes those don't necessarily yield for the best pictures. Shout out Zayon. Those don't yield for the best pictures. So I was like, fuck, like I don't know, because sometimes when you shoot, you don't know what you really got. And when I went to edit it, I was like, oh, I got actually some good shit here, and especially that one, just the amount of life happening. Like that's also an underrated part about like the sellout crowds is like it adds so much atmosphere for me as a photographer, like to capture everything happening, because you'll take a picture of what's happening on the court, but because of, you know, where I'm placed is like usually within the crowd, and then if it's not, it's at the bottom of the PR series, which is still near the crowd. Like it adds so much to the atmosphere, and I'm so excited to, if I can, I'm so excited to take some pictures of a playoff game.
Yeah, that'll be nuts in a while. But I just saw it and I was like, yo, like there was that picture and then the LeBron and Cade one you had this year. I was like, dog, like SARS in his bag. Like that was an amazing picture.
Appreciate
like,
that. Yeah. I've had to get in my Duffy a few times this year.
But we're gonna wrap this podcast up, you guys. It should be up on, you know, all the audio platforms probably, you know, later tonight. But if you guys are still watching, got about almost 440 of you in here. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, all that good stuff. But until next time, peace.